Welcome to the You Can Man podcast, episode 7. I'm Josh.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Dave.
And on this week's episode, New House Know-How, Part 2.
All right, guys, welcome back.
Yeah.
How was your week?
It was good. Tim, you just got back in town, didn't you?
I did. Took all 3 kids with my mom on an epic road trip to Louisiana to visit my grandmother.
Did we mention this last week?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think we talked about it briefly, but we're all waiting with bated breath to see how it went.
My wife didn't go because she was supposed to have a job interview, and that ended up being postponed, but it was a little too late, so she stayed home. It was good for her because she had some relaxation time.
Some me time?
And I had 3 kids in the car with me. But I will say that I did make the purchase of buying wireless headphones for the minivan.
Gotta have them.
And it was incredible. Because before, when we didn't have that, we had to have the audio of the movie or whatever they're watching on the whole time. And then we couldn't listen to anything else because it was super loud and blah, blah, blah.
Do you have a time limit on what are they watching, like movies or?
Yeah, I would not allow them to do back-to-back. Can't do that. We got to take a little break.
Yep.
Have some decency.
Yeah.
Yep, got to take some breaks. They would complain, but then they'd be okay. But, it was great.
Do the old school games like
Alphabet,
counting cows,
cow poker,
or just draw.
Okay.
Something.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun car trip.
Yeah. So how many hours did you let your mom drive?
0.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, I think since a few days ago Saturday, I've driven 1,400 miles,
Whoa.
I think, altogether.
Need an oil change.
I changed the oil right before we left.
Very good.
Yeah.
Responsible.
For sure.
And that Sienna goes forever.
Oh, yeah. Got an alignment done. Overinflated the tires a little bit. Do you guys do that?
Okay, well, hold on. Let's back up. Josh, wait, I thought Tim also swears that alignments are not necessary.
No. That was the first time I have done an alignment, and I have never said that, by the way.
I think we've had this argument before.
Never said they're unnecessary.
That they're not. When you buy new tires, you don't need an alignment.
Correct.
I can hear that rattling around in my head.
Correct. I don't know. I would say when you do buy,
look, they bring you a sheet every time. They're like, clearly, you need an alignment. Like they show you that your wheels are out. I mean,
they don't tell me that.
Really?
I buy good cars. No, from what I was told from like an alignment shop who will take your money to do this, they said unless all the alignment components are pretty rock solid.
Yep.
So unless you're like going into potholes regularly,
unless you run it up on a
curbs.
neighborhood sign like I did a long time ago.
So unless you're abusing your car with the alignment components, that they said they should stay locked in unless like an anomaly happens.
I drive angry.
Our roads are pretty decent here in the Metro Atlanta area.
I tell you, the roads are, well, first of all, whenever you're driving from Atlanta to Louisiana, you always know you're in Mississippi because the road quality,
it just goes straight out,
drastically changes.
Well, gravel is different than pavement.
Well, this is true, but just on the highway,
they do. But no, that's not a joke. Like their roads, I'm thinking Alabama. Like when you cross the line from Georgia to Alabama, it turns into the road that has like the rocks on top, and then they just seal it, and then.
Well, I think that's more so Mississippi.
Either way,
I didn't notice it in Alabama, but
it probably gets progressively worse. It's just
and then,
all right, okay, everybody, come on.
And then the roads in New Orleans were really bad, like in the city.
Really?
Potholes, all kinds of stuff. Have you guys ever driven in New Orleans?
No.
It's crazy because they have all these one-way streets. People listening that have driven in New Orleans are going to be like, yep, for sure. And it's super confusing because they'll have one-way streets, but they'll have like a really large median on a lot of the major streets.
Okay.
So when you're making a left turn, you got to like go in the median, like I have a cutout. I'm not explaining.
I always feel like when you go to a new city, you have to kind of relearn how do the locals drive? You got to kind of figure that out.
Well,
you know?
even here in Atlanta, we're not like our city's not blocked out well. as far as being
Right,
square
sure,
blocks. And I've driven in many cities a whole block the wrong direction because
totally.
I just don't. Yeah, you can't.
We're not
always,
used to it.
Yeah, you don't know what's coming.
Yeah,
So.
totally.
Yeah, but the trip was good. Dave,
While
what's
you
been up
were
with you?
gone, I've read a story that blew my mind. This kid, I can't remember how. If
12.
He was, all right, okay. That was going to be my first number that I went with. Anyway,
Dave's story, Josh.
yeah,
Okay,
take it
Dave's
easy.
story.
Step off.
Sorry.
12-year-old achieved nuclear fusion in his bedroom as a 12-year-old. So he built this. I don't know if it's a reactor.
Were his parents aware?
So his
Yes.
parents were aware. His dad, his dad was talked about in the story, was like, I didn't know. He didn't say I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't understand what he was doing.
Yeah,
Like,
it
I
was
don't understand
interesting.
nuclear fusion was what he was saying.
Yeah, it was interesting because the dad. You would think a kid like this. Well, dad's a scientist.
That's what I was thinking. Nope,
of course,
not the. They didn't say what he did, but he's like, I didn't know what he was doing. So he was like, I contacted professionals to figure out is my kid going to kill himself or me? Because
or our block.
things you need for fusion, it sounds like you need a lot of voltage. Okay, so a lot of electricity you need to build a vacuum, and then you need some other stuff. But his parents supported him, obviously, but also gave him it cost $10,000 over the course of a year. So
Yeah.
a lot of cash spent. Anyway, it was just impressive. I made the joke, I read the story yesterday. This kid achieves nuclear fusion the same day that I got locked out of my desk drawer. I can't open up my desk drawer. 12-year-old
worked.
is
I'm sure
building
there's
nuclear reactors.
I'm sure there's plenty of parents out there that drop $10,000 easy on a traveling
That's a
baseball
good
team.
point. That's a good
maybe,
point.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
No,
that's
this
a good point.
is a good way to support your kids for sure. Yeah, I told Dave earlier that my science fair project was putting a piece of bread in a Ziploc bag.
It does
and
not-
putting it in the closet.
does not
to
compare.
see if it would mold or how fast it would mold. That's the extent.
That
of-
sounds like you were not into the science fair project.
Oh.
You're like, I'm just going to check this box
that
off.
couldn't be more true because I think it was probably I busted it out the night before it was due. So.
Nice.
I think was that we did a science fair project where we teamed up with somebody. Do you remember doing that?
It's a blur. I don't
Because
remember.
I teamed up with our good mutual friend Matt Burns, and we did a project together. And I remember just the night before we turned it in, we're just having to make up stuff that we put in this journal.
Nice.
And did you guys ever have Miss
Well,
Camp? Do you remember Miss Camp?
Yes,
Okay,
I
so
remember
totally.
Miss Camp.
So to let our listeners know, we all went to the same high school. Anyways, Miss Camp was into deer hunting. So one of our entries was went deer hunting with Dr. Camp or whatever. She never caught it. Anyways, that was just a random memory from science fair.
Yeah, Josh, I feel like, when you're pairing up with people in your class and you're everybody's kind of looking at each other trying to figure out who's going, and you would have looked at me and I would have known that you were going to, not do an above board job, and you'd be like, "Hey, man, you want?" I'd be like, "No, man." I'm
Oh
not
wow,
doing
you
it."
would deny me?
I would
because
deny
that was
you.
going to affect the data.
Yeah, because I knew you weren't going to pull your weight.
Yeah, I did the bare minimum in high school. I'm not going to.
I don't remember doing a science fair project.
All right, let's keep this moving. Josh, you had the story about the DNA, yes?
Yeah, another science story. So the story just came out recently that a 25-year-old cold case. So a case that's been open since 1993, murder of a young woman has gone unsolved. This was in the Minnesota area, I believe.
Minnesota.
And long story short, they had DNA at the time. They gathered DNA, but they didn't really know how to use it. The technology wasn't there to be, it wasn't as robust as
Well,
it
they
is
didn't have
now.
a DNA database.
Yeah, they couldn't cross-reference it nationally and all that kind of stuff. So basically, with the advent of these genealogy websites like 23andMe and Ancestry.com, the police, and we don't know the legal or the legal ways
We're not
that they
lawyers.
obtained this DNA, but they were able to take this match and basically submit it to, I think it was 23andMe website, and say, we have this sample of DNA. Can you run it against your database? And they said yes, and so they did, and they got a very, very, very close match. They
Wow.
didn't get an exact hit, but they got basically within a family of people that, and I think one of the guys in this family, they'd kind of had we're just getting a thunderstorm.
Dang.
Nice. I don't know if you can hear that on the podcast, but that was a good one. So they narrowed it down to a family, and this man that they had their eye on, I believe, was in this family. And so they're like, okay, I think we've got our guy. So what they did to nail him down basically was they tailed him for a while, and he goes to a hockey game. And this was just earlier this year. He goes
to regular.
Wait, hockey in Minnesota, you said?
Yeah,
No way.
it's like a sport up there, I guess. So they follow him. They watch him. He eats a hot dog. He wipes his mouth with a napkin, throws it in the trash can,
mistake.
and they pick it up. They go after him, pick it up out of the trash can, run his DNA against it, and it is a perfect match. And this guy is busted.
Your day is over, and that was the worst hot dog ever.
We were talking about this earlier, but these guys that committed these crimes 30 years ago, like they've got to be sitting around on their couch now just sweating bullets thinking, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's a lot of murderers out there that are now very more nervous than they were.
It's way easier back in the day to commit a crime. Like you could be pretty lax with cleaning this stuff up, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I even have a story of finding out very recently this past year that my mother... Was that my mom? I'd never call her mother. My mom has a half brother she never knew about, and I came across that from Ancestry.com because somebody who now that I know is my first half cousin reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're a match. I would like to compare notes. I don't know who my grandfather is." And then we come to find out, well,
I would have put that right in the spam box, like when he.
No, I'm all about the family history stuff. So I was like, that seems interesting. And the DNA doesn't lie. And he was listed as a first cousin.
Match, yeah.
And I'm like, that's interesting because I have no idea who you are. So one thing led to another. And there you go. My mom has a half brother she never knew about.
Technology.
Anyways, all right, Josh, topic at hand today, new house know-how.
Yeah, so last week we kind of covered basic things you should know. If you're a new homeowner, we covered a list of things that we felt like were critical to know right off the bat when you get that new house. So this week we're going to kind of get into, now what should you actually do? What are some things that you can do to this new house? What are things that you should do to this new house? And we're going to kind of start with a high level, just kind of a starting point for everyone. So most people, when they buy a new house, get a home inspection. Pretty much a requirement to get a mortgage. And this is a individual that comes out, looks the house over, checks all the systems, and kind of makes this big report on what's basically wrong with your house. Maybe what's right with it, but mostly it's a list of what's wrong. So this is kind of a good place to start. So if you've had a home inspection, you can kind of pull that inspection report out and go through it. Go through it with someone who maybe is handy, like a friend or a relative that kind of knows and is pretty hands-on, that may have some input.
I was going to say a really good home inspector probably would go ahead and prioritize that list for you.
Yeah.
And would say, these are the things that you need to address first off.
Yeah, and a lot of them will be safety issues. Like those are kind of ones that you should pay most attention to, in all likelihood. One of the things that came up in our conversation was the spacing of balusters, which are the skinny little rods that are under a railing.
We call it a picket or a spindle.
Spindle, picket, baluster, but the things that kids like to stick their heads through. So there's like a minimum or actually a maximum requirement of spacing so that kids don't get their head stuck or they can't slip through it if it's on a deck or on a high staircase. So things like that are, things you'd want to know in that report.
Right. And so you're going to get this report. It's going to have hopefully some pictures on there, a list of things that need to be done. And hopefully some of these things you can do, you can negotiate when you buy the house, right? Like, especially if they're safety items. But a lot of times, it's a long list. You're not going to get them all taken care of before within the deal, selling the house, buying the house. And so it's a great itemized list of things to do to your house when you first move in.
Yeah, I will say that if you've never seen a home inspection report, it's ridiculously long.
Yep.
You have a good home inspector. And quite honestly, a lot of the things on there, I don't know. It's their job to kind of point out every single little thing that they're noticing. And so you may feel overwhelmed when you get this report and think, oh my gosh, do I need to buy this house? Chances are good. Everything's fine. So as Josh was saying, find you a really good friend that is a good handyman that knows what they're doing to kind of go over and be that second set of eyes for you to help you prioritize that list and figure out what things you should and shouldn't really be concerned with.
Right. And Josh, weren't you like randomly a home inspector for a short period of time, or qualified to be?
Qualified to be. I never actually performed the duties. But
real estate agent, home inspector.
Yeah. So
data specialist.
Yeah. Tim's point is great. Is perfect. I currently have my real estate license. What I tell, especially first time home buyers, when the home inspection report is coming, I say, it's going to look terrible.
Right.
It's
Every house
like
has a lot of problems.
But then I tell them, if this house was only 2 years old, there would still be a laundry list of items that the home inspector is going to point out. So don't let that home inspection report freak you out. So moving on to actually some of the items that we believe should be done firsthand. You can either do them yourself or you can hire some of these things out, and we'll kind of just list them off here, discuss them as we go. So the first one we have on the list here is learning how to relight your pilot light on your water heater if you have a gas water heater.
Yeah, that's always kind of nerve-wracking. I don't think I've ever done it. Maybe I did it a long time ago, but it's all, I'm always like
nerve-wracking,
holding my breath. No, I'm just trying to think of when I've done it at my house, but I haven't done it there.
Well, you've probably had to have either lit the pilot light on your furnace.
I've done it somewhere because I remember just holding my breath like, yeah. Okay, cool.
There are safety features, there should be, that you're really not going to screw something up big time. I mean, there's always directions on the actual unit, or there should be.
Yes.
Of how far, where you turn the dial, you turn it here for lighting.
How many seconds you hold it there.
And look, this is just a YouTube search away, so don't be intimidated by that. But that is something you should know how to do in case the gas is somehow turned off or something. But when you do start new gas service, they should come in the house and make sure that you don't have any issues. And so they may even, I don't think they'd light it for you, but.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they light it or not. I currently have an electric hybrid water heater, so it's not an issue. But the house Dave and I actually lived in together, I had to relight the pilot light at one point, and then this was pre-YouTube era. So yeah, today YouTube, great resource. In a crunch, you can do it yourself. It's not an issue.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're nervous, if you're super nervous, if you're really worried.
Dave.
Like Tim said, there's a lot of safety features built in, so it's not rocket science. But in a pinch, you can do it yourself. There's very clear instructions on most water heaters. Next one is how to change your furnace filter or the filter on your HVAC system. We mentioned locating this on the previous podcast. We mentioned, you need to know where your systems are. You need to know how to access this filter. You should go ahead and have it changed probably when you move in.
Yeah, change it when you move in. And I think every 3 months?
Schedule whatever. Every filter is a little different depending on the size of filter, the type of filter. But find out what that recycle stage is, or the whatever, changing out the filter. Find out what that schedule is, and just set a reminder every 3 months, every 6 months, whatever it is, to get that filter changed.
Yeah, we actually buy those in bulk, and then I'll just keep a box of them, and then I'll always have that on hand.
Yeah, just keep it right in the same room there if you can, and then it's never an issue to get it done. That's something that gets overlooked a lot. And it's harder for some folks if your unit's up in the attic, or if your unit is in a crawl space. It's much more difficult, but you really should make a point to schedule those things, because it's an easy fix. It's not even a fix. It's an easy maintenance item that you need to do, but it also will stress your system. A clogged filter puts tons of stress on the system. It runs way longer, so it's very inefficient if you don't change that filter.
Yeah, definitely a good thing to do. And something that kind of goes hand in hand with that is actually having your HVAC system serviced when you move in. So this is where you call, your local heating and air conditioning company, have them come out, check out the whole system, They can recharge the air conditioning system if it's needed, service the whole system so that it's running well, right when you move in.
And you guys may have a differing opinion on this. Don't let them sell you on some sort of service contract.
No, do not do
where
that.
They're coming out once a quarter or something. I think it's a waste of money. Josh may disagree because he has a nice new fancy system, so he probably does have somebody coming out.
Yeah, I schedule it myself. I'm not on an agreement, but and it does have to do with it being a brand new system. When we moved in, we got a brand new system.
Probably comes with a warranty and
yeah, it probably has a warranty, but once a year, I make a point to just have it done. And actually, one of our, like a servo went out somewhere in the system, and they had to come out and fix that. And I just had them do a service at that time. But yeah, don't sign up for any. That kind of goes for a lot of things in life. Like,
you should watch them next time. I want to find out exactly what they do because I can do that myself.
Sounds weird. Just stand over them, watch them. I'm only taking notes.
No, it's funny.
Don't mind me. Yes, there's a camera.
I've done that with other industries because I've had friends with pest control, and so I've said,
you just walk around behind them and tell me what you're doing.
I remember I had our friend Ernie. He was doing mosquito control. He was paying someone to come out to do mosquito control, and so I had him ask the mosquito guy that came out to spray exactly what he was spraying. I was like, oh yeah, that's what I use. So it was just kind of a way to say, okay, I am actually using the exact same thing that this professional dude is using.
You said your friend Ernie. You could have also said your friend Dave.
Yeah, with pest control?
No, is having somebody spray their yard for mosquitoes. Look, I don't want to have it done.
Oh, you did it?
No, I have. Yeah, I'm
like this
paying
past
somebody.
summer?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that
Dave
I have.
doesn't
I know.
talk
No,
to us enough.
No. I know that you have the backpack sprayer, and we could go into when I asked you to come over, and then you didn't. But we're not going to do that on this podcast. I wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah, I don't need it done. But my wife, like,
you can borrow.
Mosquitoes
it,
are attracted. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so I'm going to get this back on the rails.
Sorry.
So we, as with many things, a lot of things you can do yourself. So yeah, I mean, even AC service. Again, we say YouTube all the time, but I mean, almost everything's on YouTube. Like so many good resources out there. So paired with the HVAC system, we have duct cleaning on our list. So a lot of people are worried, especially maybe you moved into a home that had pets, or maybe you had moved into a home where they smoked in the house before.
Or maybe they cooked meth.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen. It's Georgia. So anything could be in these duct lines, the lines that feed your supplies, and this is the air that's running through your house all the time. Having a good duct cleaning service is worth the money. Don't cheap out on it. There's coupons everywhere for the Groupon, like $79. I'll come clean your ducts. Don't do that.
Well, so I've never had it done, but one of you was telling me that so I think it's Josh, sorry.
Both of us probably
have had it done, and y'all said that like a lot of stuff came out of there, right?
No, not on mine. I think the one that we did was a joke because we got it on one of the Groupon deal sites or something.
Okay,
I was going to say do your research before you hire someone to do that because a professional duct cleaning will set you back a couple $100. Yes. It should. Yep. And they're going to be bringing in some actual equipment into the home. And I've heard that they'll actually cut a hole. Now, I think you disagreed with me there.
Well, I don't know what they did.
On the
Our
return line
in the basement.
To then then go out from there. But anyways, do your research on that. I'm not as qualified to answer that as exactly how they go about doing it. But I think it is something important to do.
Yeah, if you ever, it depends on the age of your house, but you can take a peek into some of the return vents, and you may see some unpleasant layers of dust in there that's basically dander, hair, everything imaginable in there. So that can be a good one, especially if you have allergies, your family has allergies, and just general smell of your house. It can make a difference. So moving on, the next item we have here is replacing the hoses for your washing machine with no burst hoses. A lot of times they're called braided hoses.
And you're talking steel braided hoses.
Yeah. So metallic, whatever. I don't know the exact material, but yes, steel.
So it's a rubber or some sort of synthetic something hose on the inside with a steel braided insulator on the outside, so that if you do get a busted hose eventually, maybe, is going to contain that burst to a smaller hole.
Yeah, I think that's the intent. It serves two purposes. It provides initial strength and rigidity so that if it's, because those things flex every time the water comes on, it flexes just a little bit, and it is under pressure constantly. So that metallic coating or braiding around it definitely helps. And the big thing with this obviously is you're trying to prevent a flood. I have here a disconnected washer hose can pump out 650 gallons an hour into your house.
Dang.
So if you're not home,
that's trouble.
And that goes out, and that's about 6 gallons a minute just into your floor and into your house. And that is one of the, I don't have the statistics, but it's one of the more common flooding issues in a house, like water damage issues in a house. What leads to that is when you get a new washer and dryer, when you get a new washer and dryer, you can go to the big box stores, and for a few dollars, I mean, it's probably under $10, buy a pair of just black rubber washer hoses.
I'd say the nice ones are more than $10.
Well, I'm talking about baseline. I'm talking about baseline. You go and buy the cheap ones because maybe you don't know the difference, and you're like, a hose is a hose, and so you go grab the cheap one, put it on, and then you have a failure that costs you $12,000 to replace all your wood floors. So pay the extra money, get those metallic braided hoses. That's an easy fix. You can do that yourself. Anybody can do that themselves with the right wrench.
Yes.
And to make sure you just tighten it against the washer and the faucet.
Right. And as a side note, whenever you go out of town, turn those things off. I would say turn the entire water supply to your entire house off when you go out of town. But if you don't want to do that, you don't want to mess with that, definitely turn at least the hot and cold line to your washer off.
Did you do that before you went on your road trip this week?
Well, my wife was here.
Oh, she was here.
So.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, one that's related to that, dryer lint clean out, right? So that, and that's, when I moved into my house, the one that I'm in currently, the hose that vents out to the outside of the house, that thing was packed full of just lint. And so getting in there, cleaning all of that out is definitely a good thing to do.
Yeah, don't hire somebody to do that. There's
definitely not.
There's clean outs you can buy. There's snakes you can buy from the big box stores.
I got long arms, just punch my arm through.
Yeah, it depends. Some are only a couple of feet to go to outside. Some are longer.
They make attachments that you can attach to your cordless drill.
Yeah.
Huh.
And they spin it.
Yep.
Nice.
And it spins up in there.
Yeah, and that's easy. That
thing,
is cheap, and it is a huge safety issue. We mentioned it on a previous podcast. That is an invitation for fire.
That stuff burns.
Yeah,
big time.
I mean, if you watch any of the Bear Grylls outdoorsman shows, a lot of them just say, "Hey, bring dryer lint with you to start a campfire."
Right. Drink your pee and bring dryer lint with you.
The most flammable thing. Yeah. Next one on the list. We have replace the locks. Replace your deadbolts, all the exterior doors, access to your house.
So a lot of people would hear that and they just automatically think, oh, well, I got to get a locksmith out here to change my locks. Wrong. It's something that's so easy. And when you've done it once or twice, you can replace a lock in 10 minutes, less.
Oh, yeah. Per lock, easy.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you have, you're not having to chisel out some new hole or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, you can definitely do this in about 10 minutes. And you can even get all the locks keyed the same at Home Depot.
Yep.
Well, actually, I was going to say they make locks now that you can change and key essentially yourself.
Yep.
And you put the key in there, and then you turn it a certain, like a quarter turn, and then anyway, so you can actually rekey new locks yourself.
Yeah, I'm sure locksmiths hate that product, but yeah, you can match it to any. If you already have an existing key, or you only have to replace one door, you can key that door to your current exterior key. But yeah, when you move into a new place, just for peace of mind, maybe you're buying it from a psycho or something, that if you left the current locks and you're worried about them coming back and accessing your house,
maybe
for some
closing
reason
didn't go so well.
Yeah. Maybe there was some contention there, but yeah, that's an easy one, and again, it's a cost thing. I was reading, I've never done it. I always change my own locks, but locksmiths will charge $25 or $35 per lock to do your house. And I mean, if you got 6 exterior doors or more like that, that really adds up. So replacing the locks is an easy one. Take pictures of before you go to the Home Depot or the Lowe's. Take pictures of what your current locks look like and maybe what the strikers look like, you know, the part that goes in and out of the door. Take a picture of what that looks like just to kind of get the best match if you can.
Yeah, it's a great thing to do because, I mean, also, you know, people give their keys out to their neighbors, to, you know, sometimes people around the neighborhood. And so when you move into a house, you don't know who has possession of those keys. So it's something that you do need to do. I would say also, if you don't, I remember living in an apartment, we didn't change the locks out, but the lock was super tight, like to turn it. And so if you're not going to change your locks out, but you do have locks that are really tight, really old, little pro tip, a shot of WD-40 inside the lock will clean it up. Works like new. But you should be changing your locks when you buy a new house.
Cool. So
what's next?
Related to access to your house, and I've never done this. I don't think I've ever had to do this. The house I live in is the first house I've owned with a garage door. So, and when I moved in, the garage door was manual. There was no garage door opener. This tip is to reprogram your garage door opener. So if at closing, the old homeowners hand you the controls, the remotes for the garage door openers, who knows if there's other openers floating out there. A quick reprogram. Just look up the model number of the garage door online, and there'll be instructions on how to reprogram that, or the keypad that's outside the garage door.
Well, I was also going to mention that a lot of doors now can just be opened by your phone.
Yes.
So the people that you bought the house from could just be still have access to open it with their phone, unless you change, of course, the code. So make sure to do that.
Yeah. So access to your house. Get those locks changed, reprogram that garage door opener. We mentioned smoke and carbon monoxide detectors last time. Last time we said make sure those are updated, and we'll just reiterate that point. It's another safety issue.
That's a big one.
You can do that yourself, smoke and CO detectors. Some of them come in a package, like it's one unit that detects smoke and carbon monoxide, or you can buy one and the other in tandem. Just look up online. Mostly they have to be outside of each bedroom, and you need at least one carbon monoxide detector per floor, something like that. Don't quote me on it, but do your research. Get those safety issues taken care of. One of the last items here is have your chimney swept. So if you buy a house with a wood-burning chimney, have that thing inspected. Some folks burn fires and places for 20 years and never have that done. Tim, have you ever had your fireplace
We did
inspected?
when shortly after we moved in, we went ahead and had a chimney sweep out just to make sure, check it, and he ran his specialized equipment down there, which I guess is not specialized, it's just really long brush thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so he cleaned it out and everything and gave us a clean bill of health that, we could begin burning stuff in there again. So, we did that.
Yeah, and I don't want to belabor this point, but in our chimney, we hadn't used it until last year. We had to wait like 6 months because there were birds in our chimney. And after research, you find out these are chimney swifts that are migratory and they're federally protected, and no chimney sweeps will touch it if there's live birds in there. Wow. They're not allowed to. And
you probably could have just made a fire. I bet they would have left.
I could have smoked them out myself, but knowing that, there's all kinds of bird debris up in there. I don't know how often the chimney was used beforehand, so I didn't want to get into that. So we basically had to wait months until these birds
they rolled out?
Yeah, nice. And then we could have this chimney sweep in, and he pulled out like 14 carcasses and all that. So have your chimney swept. You don't know what's up there. You don't. You just. It's another thing. The buildup on the inside of the chimney can be a fire hazard. So go ahead and get that done.
Yeah, very last on our list was meet your neighbors. And I think that is so, so important because your neighbors, especially if they lived in your neighborhood a really long time, will be able to tell you things about your house that you wouldn't know otherwise. Yeah. That maybe the previous owners never told you, never disclosed, something like that. So I think that's a really important thing, to meet your neighbors for sure.
Yeah, and there's always that aspect of, in a pinch, like who can you go to? And I know we're all mobily connected and we have our technology and our smartphones, but there's a lot to be said for connecting face to face with your neighbors that can help you out in a pinch, or you can help them out in a pinch. Either way.
when we moved into our house, I'd already met our next door neighbor Nolan, great guy, and he's an older guy. He's retired military and retired police. And I was needing to rip out a bush, and so I was like, I'm gonna attach a rope or something to this bush and just attach it to my Bronco and rip this thing out of the ground. I was like, I probably need some chain. You know who I bet has some chain? Nolan's got some chain. Call him up. Hell yeah, I got some chain. Yeah, so Nolan had the chain.
Yeah, and my current neighbor one of them is Tim, so we lean on Tim a lot. We haven't done the best job, honestly, of getting to know our other neighbors. And when I say we, I mean my family. Tim meets the neighbors.
Tim's the mayor. I would say that even before you buy your house, you should be knocking on doors next door to the house that you're looking at.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, asking them questions about the neighborhood, things like that. Also, if you have a crazy neighbor, potential crazy neighbor, future neighbor, you could dodge a bullet and be like, I'm not going to buy this house. So, yeah,
very true.
Could happen.
Well, cool. All right. So hopefully you guys have a really good, solid idea of a bulleted list of what you need to do when you first buy a house. So things you need to know and things you need to do. To wrap up the series on our next episode, we're actually going to have a good friend of ours, James, come into the Mega You Can Man podcast studio. That's amazing and everything.
Yet to be sponsored. We're looking for sponsorships if you're out there.
We're big time. We're getting there. Anyway, so James is going to come in. He just bought a house, and we're going to be able to grill him on questions like, what did you do? What was, difficult, and
surprises,
all kinds of stuff like that. How much money did you spend? That sort of thing. So definitely check that out. So after the break, it's my week for the segment, and you'll just have to wait and see what that is.
Oh.
This episode is sponsored by 1776 United. 1776 United is a patriotic and historically inspired lifestyle brand. They make the best patriotic shirts and apparel on the market today. I personally own many of their products, and if you want to don patriotic gear without looking gaudy, check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and at 1776united.com.
All right, guys, welcome back. It is my week. So to let our listeners know what we've been doing recently is each of us will take a segment each episode. The other two guys don't have a clue as to what whoever's week it is going to say.
We're flying blind.
So Dave and Josh have no idea what I'm going to say, so I'm going to get right into it. Okay, question. What brand was the first set of tools that you owned? Like, who was it made by? What was that?
Husky, I think. Like, when you say a set of tools,
like think mechanic set, like
wrenches,
ratchet.
Yeah. My parents bought me. This was late high school. A legit Craftsman, full set of Craftsman sockets and open-ended wrenches, closed-ended wrenches,
screwdrivers.
Yeah, just a full. It fits in one case. It's heavy. I still have it. Still use it.
Okay, well, I'm right there with you. Mine was a Craftsman as well. What were you going to say, Dave?
I was going to say I still have mine. My girlfriend at the time bought me a set of wrenches, ratchets. It's a set of Huskies, and still have it. Still use it to this day.
All right, cool. So my segment today, guys, is on Craftsman tools.
Nice.
All right. So my first set was Craftsman. I still own Craftsman tools. When I got my upgraded to a larger tool box, I actually bought a whole new set of Craftsman tools. Is that a surprise to you guys?
No, not at all.
No? Okay. So this segment will be a little bit shorter than we normally do. I actually was surprised at the lack of information that I could find on Craftsman because they've been around a really long time. Maybe I didn't look hard enough.
They're an American
not
icon.
for much longer, though, right?
They are an American icon for sure. Well, I'll get to that, Dave.
There were Craftsman houses.
Dave always trying to go ahead.
I'm sorry. I can see the future.
Okay. When do you guys think that...
Sorry, I was gonna say what Dave said, but I kept him to myself because I'm respectful.
I'm not.
Okay. In what year was the Craftsman trademark registered? Any guesses?
19 and 29.
1917.
Dang, Dave, you were really close. 1927.
Whoa.
Nice. Yeah, it was trademark registered on May 20th, 1927. So let me get to my notes here. Sorry. The brand was started by Arthur Burroughs. Of course, this was under Sears. We all know that, right? So it was a brand.
So they've been tied together for the...
Oh, yeah, since the inception.
Wow.
Yeah, this was a Sears thing. So Arthur Burroughs was the head of hardware development, and Burroughs really liked the name Craftsman, which was already in use by the tool company Marion Craftsman Tool Company. So he reportedly offered that company $500 for the rights to use the Craftsman name on Sears products. So
Terrible investment.
That's how the name came to be, and it was a great success. Burroughs was promoted, and he hired a guy named Tom Dunlap to replace him. And Dunlap is really the one responsible for getting really, really popular because he had the idea of chrome plating the hand tools.
Yes.
Okay.
So I feel like that's something that we take for granted. Like, of course, socket set or whatever is going to be chrome plated. I'm not going to buy something that maybe I guess it could be like powder coated, some special thing, but most all hand tools are going to be chrome plated.
Silver, yeah.
So that was old Tom Dunlap. And Burroughs actually did not like the idea of chrome plating and said it didn't make sense to chrome plate the tools on tools that would be, quote, that people would, quote, slug the hell out of. But, hey, sales skyrocketed, and the rest is history.
So do you know if that was done for strength purposes or purely aesthetics?
Well, from what I read, Dunlap realized that guys that were really into tools meticulously cleaned their tools.
Wow, that's a lost art.
And they really took care of their tools. And so his thought was, I'm going to chrome plate these things. It'll make it way easier to clean.
I like it.
Now I'm ashamed that I don't clean.
Oh man, I clean my tools
afterwards.
Yeah, after every use, wipe them down, spray them with some.
Yeah, I'm bad.
Oil.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another question. In what year were Craftsman power tools first offered?
43.
1952.
You're both way too high. Dave, you were spot on your very first answer of 1929.
Okay.
Now, I thought it was very surprising. So they introduced the brand in 1927. The first tools that they came out with were actually saws, not just hand tools that we think of today that they're most popular for. But power tools, 1929.
Wow.
Yeah.
29.
I know. Very early. So the fall catalog featured the first Craftsman power tools. Craftsman half-inch and quarter-inch electric drills are powerful, of rugged construction, well-balanced, and easily handled. So that was how they
sold me.
Yeah. Okay, so moving right along, the lifetime warranty was introduced from the inception, so 1927.
Now, I feel like that is the selling point for Craftsman tools, right? It's unconditional, isn't it?
Well, it depends on the category of tool. So there are limited and lifetime. So any of the hand tools, so think a ratchet, so like half-inch drive, whatever, that's definitely under the lifetime warranty. So if you had bought that in 1927, technically you could still walk in, as of this day, right now, could walk into Sears and get that. Now, I'll get into later. Obviously, Craftsman Tools has taken a turn, and they're now sold in Lowe's stores and other places. I guess I'll go ahead and get into that. So they're actually owned by Stanley Black & Decker now.
Okay.
And they're now sold in Lowe's stores.
Yeah, I think cried the other day. I saw them in Lowe's.
I didn't know that. I didn't know they were sold in Lowe's.
Oh, yeah.
It's very new. Very new.
They're sold in Lowe's, Ace Hardware, Sears, a couple other places.
Are they still made in America?
Ooh, well, when they were still sold at Sears, a lot of them were still made overseas. So
really? I thought that was also the thing, is everything was made in America.
Well, they did a push for that a couple of years back. So when I was on their website, I'm forgetting the slogan now, but they're striving for everything to be made in America, but like globally sourced, I think is what the term they use.
So their motto is, we're trying really hard.
I guess so. But on to the next point. Let's talk about the lifetime warranty. I was going to ask you guys if you've actually taken up on that before.
Not me. I think my dad has for sure. He's taken screwdrivers, I know, because he uses screwdrivers for everything, levers, pry bars. So yeah,
I've used it before. I took a half-inch drive that I had used, and the chrome was starting to like chip off or something. And so I took it into the Sears store. I was just kind of really curious as to what would actually happen. I explained the situation, handed it to the sales associate guy. He's
so we have a code red.
Yeah. And he just gives me a new one. Now, as I was doing research, specifically with ratcheting drives, socket sets, it's actually up to the discretion of the store whether they give you some repair kit or they just give you another one. I know. I was like, really?
I'm going to re-chrome this wrench here.
I would be like, no, you're going to give me a new one. Anyways, I thought that was kind of interesting. So Stanley Black & Decker officially purchased the brand March 9th, 2017.
That's a sad
It was a
day.
total value deal of $900 million with an upfront payment of $525 million and a later payment of $250 million after the first 3 years.
$900 million. Whew.
Yeah.
That's not a bad deal for the Craftsman brand.
Yeah. And Sears will hold royalty-free license to the Craftsman brand for a 15-year period after the completion of the sale. So they're still going to hold on to it. You can still go to Sears stores and get Craftsman tools. So those two brands are still definitely tied together. But I think the most major retailer now is definitely not going to be Sears. It's going to be Lowe's,
right,
where you can get Craftsman tools. Just a note for maybe some of our younger listeners. At one point in time, Sears was the world's largest retailer. So I think we've lost sight of that. So they were basically the Amazon.
Not just of tools. This is the world's largest retailer, period.
Yeah, I mean, there could be an entire segment just on Sears, but they were huge.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Another interesting thing, Craftsman launched the Craftsman Club customer loyalty program. Any of you guys part of that?
No. Never heard of it.
Okay, yeah, I was. I'm pretty sure that I was going to actually look up.
Do you have a card?
Yeah, I did. I can't find it, but I know that I was definitely a part of that. But they were one of the earliest retailers to start that, and the program started in 1991. That's about all I've got for you guys. Just wanted to talk about one of my favorite tool brands, Craftsman.
Craftsman tools is quality stuff. Good tools.
Yeah, they're finding their way through this new age. Because it was a shock. I was in Lowe's last weekend and saw the Craftsman displays and just kind of took a step back and realized what was happening.
I don't look down on Craftsman. I feel like Sears kind of sunk that ship.
Yeah, I'm guessing they've made some strategic errors in the past 20 years.
Right. One other little quick thing that I will say. So I always kind of had envisioned that Sears was the one making the Craftsman tools. Definitely not. They've used multiple manufacturers throughout the years. So Sears has never been the one that's actually made Craftsman tools. A lot of them have been made by Stanley, even some of the power tools, Ryobi.
Yeah, Sears,
DeWalt.
They sell pants with pleats. They don't make tools, right? No? That's what I think of Sears when I.
You think of old man pants when you think of Sears?
Definitely.
I get that. Yeah.
And you have to go to the mall.
Right.
Yeah. That's how you know.
Yeah, I don't remember the standalone Sears stores.
It's been a while.
Right.
It's been a while since those.
Yeah. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys this week.
Good stuff.
Hope you
Very
enjoyed
interesting.
it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our show today of New House Know-How. Hopefully you guys gained some insight into things that you should accomplish when you first buy a new house. Remember, we're going to wrap up this series having a good friend of ours, James, on the show who recently bought a house, and so we'll be asking him a lot of house-related questions that he's experienced recently. As always, please take some time to subscribe to our channel and check out youcanman.com where you'll find links to our Facebook and Instagram page. Thanks so much.